Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is the Spurs Diehards Tottenham Till I Die. And this is the show where we attempt to keep our heads while everybody else is losing theirs. We've got my co-host Adrian next to me. How you doing, Adrian?
I'm fine, thank you. Looking forward to the show. Well, actually, that's a lie. I'm not really looking. I mean, how can you look forward? Every show we do is a loss, but no, I am looking forward. I do thoroughly enjoy the shows. Which
it's all good. It's all good. Looking forward, maybe sometimes better than looking behind you. But we shall. We will move on, and we will try and make it as enjoyable as possible. We have returning regular Alan. How you doing, Ragnar's Madness?
Hey man, I'm doing good. How are you doing, Drusilla?
Oh, just absolutely living the dream. I've got an analogy that I feel like Tottenham are very much like a Jason Statham movie at the moment. It's basically going to be 90 minutes of bollocks. There's going to be 20 minutes that you kind of enjoy, but ultimately you should have done something else. And we have a new guest today with us. We have Mr. Steve Silver, Stateside Footy on YouTube. We've got his banner that we are going to be putting up. Mr. Steve, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Good afternoon, fellas. It's good to be on, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm extremely grateful to be here and talk Tottenham Hotspur football.
That's awesome. Yeah, I ran across your channel a few weeks ago when you had Dave from the Irish Hotspur on your channel. So this is how the Tottenham. It's how the Tottenham community works. It's very organic. Usually, one person bumps into another person, and before long, you're like me, and you're the cuckoo of Tottenham Hotspur, just flapping into other people's nests and laying a couple of eggs. So, it's all good.
Just being a guy who was that kind of nerds out on Major League Soccer and the U.S. men's national team. It's having that little that secret love for Tottenham Hotspur football that kind of got me involved. So it's fun.
That's all good. It's all good, and it's nice that Tottenham usually, for the most part over the years, have had one or two notable American players. So it's nice we got the American contingent. We'll say a quick hello to a couple of people in the chat. We got Blaine, always there, always committed. Appreciate you, sir. We've got Mr. Spurs, Graham GCTV. Hope you are doing well. We're going to discuss the Chelsea game, the fallout potentially of maybe some actions. We'll preview the Southampton game, and we're going to go over a couple of other bits and pieces. It looks like the Milan Paratici love affair is over before it even started. So, is there a chance that the Don makes a move back to Spurs? Does that put Langer's job? Does that make that a little bit untenable? Because I can't see them working together. Be interested to get your thoughts in the chat on what you guys think. But I guess we'll start off. We'll start off with Chelsea. I guess we'll go over the game in general, and then obviously there's the flashpoint, which I'm sure we probably have to cover. But Steve, we'll start with you. New guy, new voice. What was your overall thoughts on the game? First half, second half. Dissect it how you like.
Well, I thought there was very good individual performance, especially from a work rate. But overall, I thought as a unit, it was extremely disappointing. One of my biggest questions coming after this match was whether or not they're 100% fully committed. There's only so much that Ange Postecoglou can do in training to set them up. At the end of the day, it's all about the players' commitment to go out there and execute. And when we're seeing laziness on the counterattack and even in the setup, it begs the question of whether or not these guys are fully committed in their abilities. I know that from a work rate standpoint, we saw a lot of good performance. I thought Jed Spence played well. I thought Dominic Solanke from a work rate perspective was actually pretty good. But outside of that, there was no ambition from the wing. And for the most part, I'm still trying to figure out why James Maddison, continues to drop down and almost play like a hybrid six position, getting caught on the touchline. But that being said, I just, it's a far cry, right? I mean, it's supposed to be an attack that is supposed to, be predicated on possession, high quality shots, and goals scored. And yet this team we haven't seen handball since the beginning of the season. So I don't know. I just thought overall it was a disappointment.
Well, this is the team of the lineup. Obviously, Vicario in goal, then Udogie, VDV, Romero, and Spence in the back line. You had the midfield made up of Bentancur, Bergville, and Madison, with Son, Solanke, and Odegaard up front. Alan, did you catch the game? What were your initial thoughts?
Oh man, yes, and I unfortunately caught the game. Yeah. It was well, look, I guess it was more of the same with Chelsea, because we're not going to Stamford Bridge. Tottenham is not that great at Stamford Bridge. We just don't have great results there. So it is more of the same. I went into the game, when I turned on the game, I didn't have my hopes up, because Chelsea are much higher up. They're much further along in their project. And unfortunately, I think the only player that I can really call out as looking like they really wanted to make something of the game was Lucas Bergvall. But other than that, I didn't see a lot of players playing together. I saw a lot of individuals kind of doing their own thing. They didn't look like a team. They really didn't. To me, and I sat with my little one, and he was kind of, I'm asking questions. He was definitely like, well, the guys in blue are really doing well. I'm like, yeah, the guys in blue are doing pretty well. And I said, what about the other guys? And he's like, well, they're not passing as well. And I'm like, yeah, they're not passing as well.
That's kind of been that's been a telltale sign of our season, really, in the last 18 months, right, Alan? Wouldn't you say, compared to Spurs teams that we've seen in the past? I mean, even over the last 5-10 years, I would say that this batch just don't seem to have the pinpoint accuracy of passing that we've seen, from the likes of your Ericssons and in the past, and your Ali's, when that Pochettino team was pairing, they could usually put it on a dime piece, right?
To cheer myself up, I was watching on YouTube old videos of the team when David Ginola was there, and then I was watching, when Gareth Bale was there, watching some Gareth Bale highlights and stuff, and when Harry Kane was there and stuff, and it's kind of frustrating, because it seems like there's no one player that really wants to grab the team by the scruff of the neck and pull them out of this hole that we've kind of dug ourselves into. 16 losses is a very bitter pill to swallow, regardless of how anybody feels about Ange Postecoglou or the team or Levy or anything. 16 losses just on paper is just unacceptable. And it's hard. I really want the season to almost be over. I really do. I want the window to open to the summer, and I just want to get past this season, because it's been a bad one. It's really been a bad one.
Adrian, I mean, based on everything that Alan said there, and Steve as well, let me just throw it this way. Given, and Ange Postecoglou has said over the last couple of weeks, once we get the players back, you'll see a better team. Now, my argument to that was that we were going to have to wait a little bit, because, you always see when players come back from injuries and they've been out for a while, especially the amount we've had and the positions they've been in. Do you still, is it too much to expect a cohesive unit yet? Do you expect more than you saw, or do you think we're on our way to something? What are your thoughts?
Well, it showed yesterday with the goal. I thought actually Spence did some good things yesterday. I actually thought Udogie looked better than he has done, because he's been poor. He didn't have a pre-season friendly. He was lying on the deck when the ball touched his hand, when he scored in the first minute. He was and he was trying to rampage forward like the old Udogie. So that was good to see. There wasn't much good to see. But to me, when you come back from injuries, we know that Romero straight away improves us, because he progresses it up the field, and we know about Van der Ven's pace and all that. But then there's the sharpness and being game aware and all that. And that really showed with that poor goal we gave away. Because you had VDV too tight to Romero, and Udogie was too far split. And Udogie's not being in the greatest form. So, and usually if you're a Spurs fan, you'll blame the player you don't like out of those two, right? Because that's what normally happens. So I think there's that sharpness and that like awareness. It's like when you're not sharp and your brains, you don't make the best decisions like on the pitch at times because you're not sharp. You might be match fit. It comes. I'm not making an excuse. It's a poor players. I mean, we've given away so many poor goals this season, and it's nothing to do with the high line because we haven't played a high line. The only change we've seen recently is players have come back, so others been rested. They're fresh. The only good thing I saw yesterday, really, apart from a couple of attacks, a few attacks down the left with Maddison linking up with Udogie and Sonny, which quickly faded to nothing, was the fact that we did have energy out there. We did press. But that's all we did. We huffed and puffed without creating anything. We had 2 shots on target all game, you know. Yeah. So back to you, Drew.
Oh, well, so I guess my thoughts are that even though the back line looked shaky at times, I think it's safe to say that with VDV and Romero, it still looks more solid than it has done with Archie, Gray, and insert another fit centre-back, whoever was there at the time. I don't know, maybe I'm clutching at straws. That looks like the strongest of a bad situation.
Not really, Drew, because when you consider the whole of the season, apart from Liverpool beating us 6-3 at the Lane, no team's beaten us by more than 1 goal.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, you make a fair point. So where's the biggest issue then? I mean, Steve, I'll start with you. You think? I mean, I feel like the attack has been disjointed all season. It has trouble holding up the ball, and I mean, there was a couple of examples last night of our midfield being somewhat non-existent with a couple of easy balls kind of played over the top. So, I mean, do we, other than the back line, are we sort of saying that the front 5 or 6 are basically just not? I mean, there's just no sort of cohesive unit there or units to speak of.
Well, you know, in a lot of regards, I actually thought our build-up play was fine from the back to the midfield. But the one thing I will say is not having Dejan Kulusevski available has really hurt this attack. And again, it's noticeable. Yesterday, when the Spurs were trying to force the ball up the left-hand side, Chelsea did their best to press that. Not a lot of switch-up play to the right. And when you don't have that second creative midfielder to take pressure off of a dude like James Maddison, you saw exactly what ended up transpiring. I will say that, the interesting thing about this is, I just don't see any bravery, and I don't see, like, for me, it's like when you're trying to play it deep, one of the things that is required from our wingers is being able to go 1v1 and put something into the box. Our service was, that's one of the biggest issues with the fact that we only created 2 shots on target. We just don't have any service in. So, when you see it on the right-hand side and you're seeing, Wilson Odebear essentially get his pocket picked, and you see Sonny doing his best to try to get around. But that being said, that's again, it comes back to commitment. I didn't necessarily see it against Chelsea, and one of the biggest issues is just when you have your cam dropping down to make touches, you don't have anybody inverted running through the middle of the park, and you're not necessarily going to draw. You're not necessarily going to create chances.
I mean, other than
without any moving forward.
There was a couple of times where Berryvale sort of managed to break through the lines, and one in particular I remember where he got to the right-hand side and put in a half-decent cross that ended up going to the back post, and there was nobody there. But Are we? Is it a confidence thing? Because there were a few times where I remember, and this wasn't just this game. This has been a couple of games. I mean, Odebear's been fine. I mean, he's a young kid. I don't put too much. You can't put too much on these kids' shoulders and expect them to be, the finished article, the savior of the football team. But are they kind of guilty of maybe lacking confidence, and Spence as well, in that when they get up to that right-hand side, even when there's an option to maybe try and put in a cross where, it might not be 100%, but you might get a deflection which leads to a corner, which then leads to a chance. But there seems to be a lot of moving backwards and going back in field. And is that a lack of confidence? Is that a lack of ability? Is that a lack of coaching? I mean, where is it a combination of all three? Like, what do you? I mean, do you agree with that? What are your thoughts?
I would sit there. I would say it's a lack of confidence. And how many times have we talked about Brendan Johnson not being confident to take on his defender 1v1. Sonny tries to, but then he slows down and gets caught. He gets caught. One of the biggest issues is when you're watching back passes and watching them switch up from the right to the left or left to the right and try to work their way up. You don't see confident runs. You don't see Brendan Johnson or Odebear for that matter on the right side, not the left side. Go 1v1, take it to the touchline, and try to play something in. It almost feels like they're scared. It almost feels like they're scared to make that play.
Yeah, which is kind of ironic, being as we keep on getting fed these lines that Ange Postecoglou won't blame us for anything. We just have to play our football, go out there, he'll take it on the chin. So if that's the case, why won't you take a risk? So, I mean, as I mentioned earlier on one channel, that we don't seem to know what to do in possession, but we have trouble closing down teams, and we seem to be pulled apart out of possession. So I just, Alan, what are your kind of thoughts on, I guess, the overall, is it confidence of the team, the cohesiveness, I mean, the lack thereof?
We play this horseshoe style football. We like to take the ball back into our area, our half, and kind of move the ball around in a horseshoe. And it's just not exciting to me. I think you're right. We spend a lot of time.
Let me ask you this quickly, because weren't we? I thought the horseshoe football thing was like the defensive Mourinho Conte sort of football. Weren't we fed new, exciting Ange ball?
We were. But I think with Ange ball, I don't think we've seen enough of what Ange ball truly could be on any consistent basis that I could feel confident that this group of players could execute it. They're good players.
That's a valid point. Yeah, that's a valid point. Yep.
I just don't. They've had more than a season to execute Ange ball, and we can't count on Ange ball. In fact, I think Ange has gotten to the point where I think he's letting the players do other things. Suddenly, like Vicario yesterday.
Count on Ange ball.
Yeah, right. Well, that's just it. He can't count on his style of play, because I don't think the players. I have no idea. I don't want to speculate, but we're not executing his style of play on a consistent basis. That's a big problem. And could
it be that they're not good enough to execute that style of play?
I have a hard time believing that the Scottish Premier League, that Celtic, who arguably shouldn't be better players than our players, but they were able to execute Ange ball, to success. In other leagues, if he's able to get them there, if anything, any style of play can be done. It's horseshit. That's right. Very good. If any style of play could be done, it should be able to be done in the Premier League, in the English Premier League. That's where you would assume all the polish is on. Everyone has seen pretty much most of the styles of play and can conform to whatever the manager needs. But for some reason, over the course of almost a whole season plus, we haven't seen it on a consistent basis. So I don't know if it's necessarily just the players. I have to attribute some of that failing on the support coaches. It's got to be, because I can only put so much on the coach. Any coach. I'm not thinking Ange and the politics of Ange. Just in general, the head coach is only as good as his coaches. He's got set piece coaches, he's got offense coaches, defensive coaches, he's got goalie coaches, he's got all kinds of coaches, but none of them are able to get all the players on the same, playing from this, reading from the same hymn sheet,
right.
And
I think there's sort of been question marks about that I don't know if it's been all season or since Ange has been there, but I mean, Adrian, what do you make of the coaching situation? I mean, I know you've spoken about the amount of coaches that we've got on the payroll. I mean, are they good enough? Let me rephrase that. Right? Is the problem? To Steve's point earlier, is the problem that the players aren't good enough for the coach, or is the problem that the coach has reached his peak and has been found out by the league? Which one is it as a percentage? You can be 50, 60, 40.
I think we've had worse performances before players were coming back than we had against Chelsea yesterday. And you've seen energy return. I just think with the results and the inconsistency this season, I just think there's a big confidence issue. But I believe the players are still behind the manager, because when you're in a cup competition, you can win something, you're going to be behind the manager, right? So they will be. Might see something different should we go out, right? But no, and I'm not a subject of that. What gets me when fans talk about leaders, we don't have enough leaders in the squad and all that. To me, I've always said there aren't enough aggressive players in the squad, because aggressive players are winners. And if you motivate you need someone on that pitch to motivate you to be on the football pitch and play for my club, then fuck off out of my club. If you need to motivate yourself, then you can't. Then get out. No, get out. What are you doing at my football club? If you can't motivate yourself, what you want your lead captain to do is to say, come on, lads, bit more effort, blah, 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 and all that. But the captain can't go running around to 5 or 6 players are off their game and start having a word with the rear. You can have a word at half time, but that's about it. And as regardless systems go, then again, we make excuses for players, don't we? Like, these players would have come through academy levels at 6. Well, at the club, I think it's not illegal to start an academy until you're about 9 or something like that, right? For good reasons, right? Something like that. So they'd have come through different levels of academy playing football, playing all sorts of systems with coaches. So when they say this player can't play this system or that, they should be able to play multiple systems, in my opinion. And we should stop making excuses for the players, because this isn't all down to Ange. I mean, we know there's problems higher up in the and all that, but this isn't all down to Ange, Mm-hmm. I mean, these players have not taken up. They've been inconsistent. And I've said the biggest problem with this team all season, we all know, any of us that have played football, and I was a crap right back, right, is that, like, you have to win the midfield battle. Most games are won and lost in midfield, unless you play long ball football, something like that, or you get lucky, right? Yeah. So when no one's moaned about our defenders, although we've let in a lot of poor goals this season, because we know those players are quality, and but midfield, that's the link between the defense and the attack. Where is it this season? It's non-existent. Lack of inconsistency. And for it to be consistent, you need at least, we've got 6 midfielders, 7 if you include Gray and all that. You want at least 2 of them to be regulars. You need to have a blend that's there. I mean, we're constantly chopping and changing all the time. And that doesn't help when players are lacking a bit of confidence. So we need to fix this midfield before we worry about the attack. But I just don't see there being enough games for us to really turn things in around, that we see growth and think, yeah, we're going to really do something special next season, even though we might freak a trophy this season. So to me, it's the midfield's our biggest problem. It has been for ages, and lack of aggressive players in the squad. I mean, just for an example, aggressive players are winners by nature. You'll get two players, used to see it, in many games in the past, where you'll get two players wrestling with the ball because they're waiting for the linesman or referee to indicate which way the throw's going to go. They get stuck in the midfield. I'm not saying all passive players aren't aggressive in a quiet way, but we lack that. And Mourinho was right. He said there's not enough C's in this squad. No, he's right. And that is, I don't. And then fans were moaning when Romero was picking up yellow cards or and things like that. No, I don't mind.
Well, now they're moaning because his head's not in it.
Well,
so
or that he's Go on, Steve. I've said enough. Go on, Steve.
I was just going to respond to what you were saying about the reason why Celtic was able to achieve what they did, and it was two reasons. And it's not necessarily that the players that went to Celtic were better than the players that are here now at Tottenham. It's just number one, they had a director of football that closely worked with Ange Postecoglou to make sure when they brought him in, they fit his system and his style of attack. And the second thing is a commitment to it. And that they had 100% buy-in at Celtic from those players. And that is something that, that is, and now granted, it was also a lot of luck, because I mean, it takes that to win a double. But that being said, I personally believe that I don't think there's a good relationship between Johan Lang and Ange Postecoglou, and it shows in some of the signings that have come through the door in the last 2 years. And I don't think there's 100% commitment with this group of players. And they don't. I would find it hard pressed. I would probably assume there are 5 to 6 guys that aren't 100% bought in to this style of play, and that's why I think there's a disconnect when we watch this team try to attack. We see laziness at some points, and we also don't see enough bravery moving forward.
Well, interesting. Well, I just want to say a big thank you to the 50 people that are tuned in currently, and we'll introduce Map into the proceedings. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing really fine. What about you all?
How's the weather in Nepal? How's the weather in Nepal?
Doing well. Well, I don't know if you heard that last question was basically asking, sort of last night in mind, what you felt the worst part or the parts that need the most work in the squad were. What are your thoughts on last night's showing?
Yeah, I didn't watch the game that closely as I was a bit frustrated with the game. When we considered that second goal, I decided to switch my TV off. Then I later found out that it was ruled out. Then again, I switched it on. So that was the case with me. So yeah, I think overall the game was a bit poor. I think player didn't show up much of a fight. I think tactically we were exposed at the back, and game was a bit lackluster from our point of view. But I think there were a few good signs from Bergvall and few players, but I didn't think these players stepped up on the occasion for me. I feel that.
Well, we'll start. We'll go through what we like to do. We don't usually do number ratings on here, but we do touch on the players and just touch on their performances and stuff. So we'll start with you, Alan. What did you think of Vicario?
So, look, I'm frustrated with the team in general, just overarching frustration. But Vicario is especially frustrating because the guy has it in him to make worldly saves like that one that he did yesterday, right off.
Fair, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, there was one in particular. I remember it. Basically, he got a tip of his fingers on it, hurt himself in the process because he hurt his hand. It was a really hard shot, and it just went on the outside of the bar. Just to the other side. He has it in him to be amazing, and then the moment he has control of the ball, it's like deer in headlights. And I don't know what it is. He had all this time during injury to go. I don't know if it's a mental thing or whatnot, but his distribution is still bad. I noticed that he's even taken to kicking the ball long, which he didn't used to do. Vicario was very much a play out from the back kind of goalie, and then suddenly now he's kicking the ball long. I think I don't know what to make of it. I guess if someone can make those kinds of saves, I hold them to a high standard, and then when I see them do stuff on the ball in their distribution, I'm like, well, I just don't understand. Such a juxtaposition here. The guy doesn't know what he's doing when he has the ball, but to keep the ball out of the net, the guy's amazing.
Yeah, there were a couple of moments that I saw, especially that pass out to Romero, where he just absolutely leathered it to him. And he was about 20 yards away, and he sent it to him as if he was trying to send it to the moon. And then afterwards, he's apologizing. He did look a little shaky right from the off. And to be fair to Vicario, I think he's been, since he's been back, to be fair, I think we can all sort of say that he's been, it's been good to have him back, because I think it was just at the moment, I think it's a little bit of a step too far for him. But I certainly know what you mean. He does have moments where you do wonder. And I think his passing out from the back and his decision making as to exactly where to pass at times can be a little wayward. Adrian,
I've never known sorry.
Carry on.
In my time as a Tottenham fan since 2011, I've never seen a goalie, maybe what's his name? But generally speaking, the Lloris and Vicario, they're both just abysmal when it comes to the distribution. So it's business as usual for Tottenham when it comes to distribution.
12 years of a lack of distribution. Awesome.
Yeah, pretty much.
Adrian, what are your thoughts on the Udogie Spence left back, right back scenario? Were you surprised that Porro was dropped, or did you think?
I was pleased to see Spence start instead of Porro, because Porro has gone back to his old days of being, when he first came in, of being very suspect defensively. So then you start thinking, well, okay, it's all right at home games, with the crowd behind us so much when you're playing, but away games, he is a concern. He is a concern, Porro. Technically superb player. Spence, he hasn't put a foot wrong since he's come back, really, has he? So he's looked very good. Glad he didn't go to Genoa for $8.5 million, because he looks like a £50 million player now. Udogie, signs of he's coming back and is powering forward like a tank, like he does like last season. But to be honest, he has been poor this season, right? And but there is definitely a quote. I really think he could go on and be one of the best left backs in the world. That's how highly I rate him. But he needs to get back and up his game. And like I said, he didn't have a proper pre-season. He came in, he was thrown in injured. And I don't think that does your confidence any good when you're not up to speed. But I saw signs in him yesterday, signs of the old Udogie. Not enough of it, but tracking back and running back. Yeah, again, we lose this goal to poor defending, but we don't really blame the defenders, do we?
Yeah, we'll get onto the goal after we go through the players, but I think because I'll tell you what, we'll touch on it now, but we'll touch on it while we talk about VDV and Romero. Steve, I'll let you take these guys, because I'm wondering what your thoughts are. That now, this was their first game. I think their first game together starting since the Chelsea game last time when they both got injured.
Correct. Correct.
So, obviously, had it not been for the injuries, had it not been for the inconsistencies, we'd be much stronger with these two in the lineup. But what are your general thoughts on these two? I personally think VDV was responsible for the goal somewhat, but I'll let you see what you think of these guys.
I thought their performance overall was I thought it was mediocre at best. A lot of this has to come to a sharpness, and I just think for working their way back up to a full 90, getting in a position where they're again comfortable. I think that's a process, and I don't think that they're back. And if you guys remember to last season when Van de Ven came back off his injury, there's an argument to be made that he didn't necessarily regain his sharpness for the rest of last season as well too. So I think I think that plays a part into it as well too. That plays a part in it as well. But that being said, man, your spatial awareness, your tactical awareness, especially when on that goal where Spurs are trying to clear it out of their own box, it gets held back up, and of course there's Cole Palmer, and of course he's going to absolutely crush you. And Van de Ven pulls off Enzo Fernandez and covers the near post as he leaves him completely wide open. And Udogi's playing off the wrong shoulder. So I mean, it's having that tactical awareness, it's having that spatial awareness that comes with being sharp and playing. And again, the biggest issue is the fact that they come back and then you have an international break where you're not playing for 2 weeks. And so whatever momentum you were starting to create for yourself prior to it, and then all of a sudden now you have to start over. And oh, by the way, your first match back off the international break is Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge, and it's like, well, it would have taken a perfect performance for them to not concede that goal. But that being said, it's Cole Palmer, so if he's not involved in some sort of goal contribution, I would have been shocked.
Yeah, no, it's fair play. He does have the ability to, especially against us as well, especially the mauling we took. He seemed to pop up in the right place across the pitch all the time. And last night, it just would be that he's coming back from injury, and he wasn't as good as he had been recently, but you still saw flashes and moments where he just drifts into the right place, and he's just got a wand of a foot, and he can just put it where it needs to be. And just to the defending thing, I think it's been a constant issue with us as a unit. Everybody's shifting over a little bit too far. Like, Romero's even too far because he's got his man behind him, which is why VVV then goes across. But then, he's obviously means that Udogi's then come across, and if the ball had gone any further, Neto was past Udogi. So if it had gone further, Neto was there to put it in the far post. And it just turns out, you're sitting there and you watch your 6'4" defender cover your 6'2" defender. Meanwhile, they lose the 5'8" guy, one of the smallest guys on the pitch, to power the header home, and you're just left kind of head in hands, really.
And also you also have to consider that these two are playing together for the first time since early December. Right. So there's also that readjustment period as well too, that you lose that when you come off the international break. But 100%, everything you just said was 100%. And there's a reason why they're called stay-at-home defenders. So
Absolutely.
Can I just interrupt, Daniel?
Yeah.
If I'm going to post, people say you shouldn't do this. I'm going to post my mobile number in the chat. If you can give me your details, I'd like to get you on the show. I'd also because you're a good fan of the show, I'd like to make you a moderator as well. Okay. So.
All right.
How does he embarrass the club anyway? Sorry.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Oh, the guy Archer in the chat. I was thinking out loud. I apologize.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So the midfield mapping: Bergvall, Bentancur, and Maddison. I know you said you're sort of in and out watching bits and pieces of the game. Was there anything that took your eye? Anything you hated? Any thoughts at all on these three?
Yeah, I was a bit frustrated with our midfield. The way we couldn't retain the ball at all. When Chelsea pressed our midfield, they couldn't keep the ball at all. Especially Bentancur, he couldn't find Maddison where he was playing behind Solanke. He couldn't find him. And I think Bergvall, he linked well with Maddison sometimes. They were good patterns of play. But I think Maddison was a bit anonymous. I think, he gave the ball away a hell lot in the final third. He got himself into good positions. I felt like that where he could cross or where he could find that pass. Where at that one moment where Solanke was in the box and where Son was about to make a run, I think he gave the ball away straight to Chelsea's full. I was really frustrated at that time. And I think Bergwall did some good stuff, and he did some okay stuffs. And I think Bentancur was better. I think our midfield needs to be operated into a new one. I think our midfield is quite poor. We need a new midfielders. I would only keep Bergwall amongst them and Bentancur. When Bentancur
Right.
plays for Uruguay, he looks really good. Like he
Mhm.
makes Valverde look bad when he plays alongside with him. Like I don't know what happens with him when he plays for Spurs. Bentancur is a good
Yeah,
player. Like
I've said for the last few weeks, I like Bentancur, but I think if he was really the midfielder that everybody thought he was when he was able to leave, Juventus, if he was really that kind of midfielder, he'd have gone to Bayern Munich or he'd have gone to Real Madrid or he'd have
yeah,
gone to Barcelona. If he was really a linchpin midfielder, I mean, he won 3 Scudettos, but the more and more I see him, the more and more I'm thinking that was in spite of him being in the midfield as opposed to because he was in the midfield. But that might be being a little harsh. I'm not sure.
yeah,
I think our midfield's suffering, and especially with Vicario, when you talked about it a little bit earlier, I think he's suffering from the jitters a bit. He can still pull off the saves because that's what he's to do, but
yeah.
some of his distribution has been nervous. It's just
If
been
we got it,
nervous, and I think the teams are nervous, and I think especially if they know it's an important game going to Chelsea. I know we don't get there nothing. I was at best. I was thinking we'd get a draw yesterday, but at this time of the season, the way we're playing, the consistency, although we've still got to play Liverpool, you don't really want to be playing Chelsea or Liverpool, do you? So it's just that. It's just a sense of jitters and confidence in the team. I think that's the big thing,
I also think that not having Kulusevski is really hurting this midfielder. This midfield, when they were at their best this season, they had 2 high roaming 10s with Kulusevski and Maddison, and it allowed Betancourt to play a little bit higher. It allowed Van de Ven and Romero to have an even higher line. That just allowed them to do what they do best, which is hold the ball up and make passes in. And not having Kulusevski and trying to rely on Betancourt to potentially be an 8 or a guy like Bergwall.
Steve, isn't that the problem though?
Especially against a team like Chelsea.
Steve, isn't that the problem though? We now say we need to rely on Kulusevski. We should have more than one Kulusevski in the team, though, shouldn't we? Well, this is our problem. We're sure. When he ain't playing. Look how much we missed Solanke when he was out. We had nothing in the middle, right? Same old, 100%. Same old. And it all stems from not doing enough work in the summer and the transfer window, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Carry on, Steve. Sorry, mate.
And 100%. Yeah, I mean, number one, you should rely on Kulusevski because I think he's our best midfield player. But I'm going to say it right now. If Spurs get an offer for James Maddison in the summer, they should take it because they can do awfully better at that position than James Maddison, who picks and chooses when he wants to show up.
Yeah, that's
if we were to keep, let's just say this train keeps going and Ange is still there, is there a need for, because Maddison's your traditional number 10, right? Really, is there a need for that position in this system?
Yes,
and that's not to I don't think that's not to say there isn't a need for James Maddison. I mean that's a question for you guys. I mean I don't know if I'd go so far as to sell him, but I completely understand why you would say that. I mean, Adrian, I just what are your thoughts on just quickly? What are your thoughts on Maddison?
You can never have enough creativity in your side. And when he's not been in a side, we've missed him. When he's been in a side, he's either been brilliant. I mean, I'll get his stats up for you in a second. He's been brilliant, but then you have that consistency issue, but he's not alone. So you can't just beat him with a stick for consistency when it's, let's go back to his actual stats this season are good. There's lots of players got good stats because believe it or not, we're still the second highest goal scorers in the Premier League. You couldn't make it up, could you? You
really couldn't. There was one point this season where there was one goal between us and I think it was Chelsea or Manchester City and about a 9 or 10 point difference. So you can't make it up.
We've got 3 generic banners here that we keep updating when players do stuff. I mean, Son 11 goals, 11 assists, but he hasn't looked good on the eye test this season. Solanke 11 goals, 8 assists. For his first season in a new setup, he's done brilliantly. Really, I mean, he's another workhorse like Kulu, isn't it? Johnson, 14 goals and 3 assists, but to some fans, he's a tapping merchant. Look at Kulu, 10 goals and 10 assists. Maddison, 11 goals and 9 assists. You can't go against that. I've critiqued Maddison when he's not played well for us. So this is why you need another in there, like a Kulusevski, like Steve alluded to, or someone who's a bit more creative. Because when Kulu's in the side, like Steve alluded to, Kulu acts more as the battering ram, and then Maddison sits more central. And then he links well with Udogie and Son then, in my opinion. Right? So, and that takes, and that also stops. Kulu keeps 2 players occupied because he worries them. Right? So that helps. So then, well, if you've got 2 on Maddison, it remind me, it affects the rest of the team. I remember what Aaron Lennon said in a recent podcast. He said, when I was in the first team, he said, there was always 2 people marking on me. He said, but as soon as we got Gareth Bale, teams didn't know what to do. And that's what you've got to create. You've got to create that in your team where players will back off you because they're frightened of you, you know what I mean? Or they don't know what to do. So, yeah, I mean, look, Maddison's assist, you keep him, whether he's inconsistent or not, because there isn't another Maddison there. And all the players say is that him and Odegaard are probably the most skillful players in training. So, no, you've got to keep him as a squad player. I think Maddison's got a higher opinion of himself than us fans have got, Steve, isn't he?
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think Maddison will be content with being a squad player? Or do you think that he's going to cause problems?
I think he'll cause problems.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And also understand that Leicester City supporters were warning Spurs fans when that deal was made, that he had the exact same issues with Leicester City, not the consistency issue that was a part of the reason why they got relegated.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, very fair point. All right, well, let's talk about frightening and not sure quite what to do. Our front line.
Sorry.
These were the 3. I made a comment because I was at work and I was having to listen to the game. I didn't actually get a chance to watch it until this morning when I, for some reason, decided to watch it back, even though I knew what the situation was. I mean, just a glutton for punishment. But I made a comment in the Irish Hotspur chat at half time that Sonny was doing his best Werner impression. Because I kind of base performances on how many times I hear names in commentary. And I hadn't heard Sonny's name. I mean, I was listening to the Peacock stream over here in America. So obviously it's always a little different. But I just wasn't hearing Sonny's name very often. But that being said, there were a couple of people that I seem to be a little bit anonymous. So, I think Solanke huffed and puffed. I think Odegaard was, not as good as he has been recently. I think maybe, he's showing all of his 19 plus years, I think it is. Alan, well, I mean, front line thoughts. What do you make of him?
Odegaard is exciting to watch when he has the ball. You can see he wants to take his man on and he wants to dribble around. He's kind of exciting to watch for a young kid. I'm actually pretty excited about him. Dom Solanke, I'm almost convinced that he's a midfielder in disguise because he really is anonymous up front. He just is. And again, it's lack of service. It's maybe sometimes they're double marking him or something like that. But he's really good in the midfield. And as Adrian pointed out, we missed his work rate when he was injured severely in the midfield. But he's really good in the midfield, but fairly anonymous up front. But unfortunately, he is an upfront player, and so I'm starting to feel like he needs to up his game a little bit. And Son was just anonymous. I mean, Drew didn't hear his name because he really didn't do a whole lot. I thought there was a corner kick that he kicked to the near post. Sonny was, in my opinion, has never been amazing at corner kicks. I remember we used to have Christian Eriksen taking our corner kicks. And then Sonny used to do it sometimes too, but he always went for that near post and it never works out. he put in one good cross that unfortunately whiffed. No one was there to receive it. But man, we need to work on our front line. We don't have that killer instinct. We need someone that smells blood in the water and puts the ball into the back of the net. We need that killer. Some teams have that player that is just a killer. They are a closer, and as we all know, coffee is for closers only. So
brilliant. All right.
I don't know. I don't know if it was Mark Cucurella at left back for Chelsea or if it was Wilson Odegaard. I don't know. I think he passed the eye test off the left and the right. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I think Odegaard is far more comfortable coming off the left than he is playing the right.
Oh yeah.
I think that was somewhat evident yesterday. But that being said, outside of Sonny's shot on goal, you're absolutely right. He was 100% anonymous yesterday. But that being said, man, I have to say it, man. I'm a Solanke truther. I like his work rate, and I like his.
So do I.
I like the fact that he's got an engine, and he's. Out of the guys that I saw yesterday, he was the only one that was committed to going, committed to going forward after his pressing duties. So I don't know. I think Solanke, there's a reason why he was able to score as many as he did last year at Bournemouth. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they were able to provide him service in areas where he likes to be in the box.
Sure.
You think the first touch is just rustiness? Because, there were a few times when balls went to him and he just didn't seem to be able to make things stick. And that, to me, is a little bit of a concern. And that's been the last couple of games. Again, is that just I'm coming back from injury and I'm rusty and I'm expecting too much too quickly? Or as a professional footballer, should you not take 3 or 4 games to get your touch back?
You should. You really should. I know for me, Solanke, again, I feel like he's a midfielder in disguise. And maybe if he was played in the midfield.
Is he Joe Linton? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
He is like a Joe Linton. He's a bigger guy. Solanke's not a small guy. He's a big guy. He's very skillful on the ball. He's quick. He's willing to take on his man. He jumps for headers. He does. In the midfield, he is like everything we would want a midfielder to be. He's unfortunately playing up at the 9, but I would almost see him in the midfield. It sounds crazy, I'm sure, but I think Dom Solanke, for us at least, Bournemouth, when he was playing with Bournemouth, he was playing under a different manager and a different system with different players, and I think they did give him more service. And I think Dom.
I think a lot of that was because of the system he was playing in. Where he was, he was playing in that, he was playing in that system that actually had a true double pivot with link up play through, centrally, where he was able to make those runs centrally and get on the end of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair play. All right. So with all that said, given that we don't usually fare well at Chelsea anyway, and most of us, regardless of how much we love Spurs and we want 3 points, we were kind of thinking to ourselves that probably. Usually this game, most times of every season, if we can get 3 points, then it's a bonus. So with that being said, was a 1-0 loss as bad as it appeared had it not been for ear cupping? Now, I didn't think I'd be using the phrase ear cupping. And I had to look it up earlier to make sure it wasn't anything obscene. For what it's worth, my 2 cents, I actually don't mind. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're gonna yell, you don't know what you're doing, and you're gonna do it. For banter, or you're gonna do it to try and poke a bear, then I feel like the bear has every right to poke back, and I don't think it's a big deal. The unfortunate thing, I think, for Postecoglou, to be honest with you, was that the goal was disallowed. I feel like if it hadn't been disallowed, I don't think it would be a thing. But I mean, to Audio Artisan's point down here, it's the performance rather than the result. That's very true.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
as far like, I just think I don't know, man. I just think it's all a little bit. I think it's a little bit of a flashpoint to distract from other things that are going on. I just think it's another reason for people that really don't like Ange to just point and say, well, there's another reason to get rid of this guy. I
Yes.
don't know. I don't know.
It's low-hanging fruit.
Is it? Do I feel like you should just kind of grow up a bit and just take it on the chin and just be done with it? Like, are we?
You know, it's funny. It's funny because the ear cupping thing. Well, it's a bit of shithousery. I mean, and I don't mind a bit of shithousery. You know, American sports, you know, in the NFL, guys are shithousing all the time. You know, after every play, they're walking off, they're doing their thing, and the coach could do it too. Look, at the same day, what kind of fell under the radar, I think, was Jose Mourinho, who, if Jose Mourinho did the ear cupping, would anybody say anything? Probably not. And Jose Mourinho, I think in the league that he's in, didn't he punch another coach in the face or slap them in the face or something? I'm serious. He did something. He pushed the guy.
He gouged somebody. I think it was the Real Madrid Barcelona one when he poked somebody in the eye. Yeah. But I mean, I guess, you know, that's kind of different context, right? This is, I guess, the reason that there's an issue with this is because this was, by all intents and purposes, a back and forth between away fans and the manager, which obviously you do not see every day of the week. So I can understand why it's news. And Blaine creates a rod for his own back. I get that. And I've said previously, there are some instances where I get frustrated with Ange because I do find him to be a bit prickly. But the flip side of that, if I stand back and take the 30,000-foot view of it, I also understand why he's prickly sometimes with journalists, because they ask dumbass questions. Like, some of these questions are so stupid. And I made the point the other week, like, and he made the point, you know, somebody that's been doing something 25, 30 years to be questioned every week. And I suppose I'm saying I understand it a lot, but I get it. You're going to ask those questions because you're a journalist. You're going to ask those questions because, you know, for whatever reason, be it injuries, be it coaching, be it the club as a whole, be it the squad, things aren't working, even though you keep saying, just wait, they're going to work. So I get it all, but, you know, I don't know. I just think it's not often you see a back and forth between manager and fans, but by the same token, I mean, Steve, is it just a flashpoint and people are honing in on it because of the result? Like, if that had been the turning point of the match and we'd have ended up going on and, you know, winning 2-1, would this still be a flashpoint, or would they all just be a bit of banter?
No, of course not. You know what this is to me is trolling, and I'm all for it, right? That's the I like to see it, right? Because, you know, for the most part, you know, Ange has been non-confrontational when it comes to supporters since his time at the club, and especially this year with all, you know, with everything that's been going on from pressure from up in the owner's box to the injury situation and to the constant criticism from the media and the fans. I can understand why, you know, Ange would have would break personality and do something like this. It's just like, listen, man, I've pretty much taken it all season long, and you know, it is what it is, and I'm all for it. I like it because at the end of the day, I mean, you know, he's going to defend himself at every turn. This dude has confidence in himself, and you know, when you're being verbally abused by your own fans, it's going to end up with you doing something that's essentially going to, you know, piss everyone off. So, but I'm for it.
But people are pissed off anyway because 16 losses. I mean, it's been a tough season.
Yeah.
As a fan, we've taken there's really not much we can do. We can't really, as fans, you can't really affect too much on the field unless you want to start making a nuisance of yourself. And there's not much other than rooting for a team and hoping they win. And when they take a battering like we've had all season, the fans are bound to, and Ange has got to understand, regardless of his tactics or the politics of Ange, if you just look at it on paper, 16 losses, a coach is going to get stick for it. And they got to have a thick skin enough to be able to handle it in any sport, in any situation, at any level. 16 losses is just sort of unacceptable.
I definitely agree with you. And if this was just based off a result, okay, that's one thing. But I think this is built up hostility that has happened over the course of the season that reached its apex, and Ange just decided to do his thing. So I don't know, man. For every action, there is a reaction, and Ange gave you a reaction that maybe you don't necessarily like, or maybe certain fans take offense to it. But that being said, man, from Ange's side of the field, I can completely understand why he did it, and I don't know, man. I kind of like it. So,
all right. So would he have been better off? I mean, given that obviously he did it, and what's done is done, would he have been better off in the press conference rather than trying to kid us and kid himself into trying to make us think that he was just trying to hear the fans celebrate? Would he have not been better off turning around and saying, do you know what? I heard them say they didn't know what I was doing. I made a substitution. The substitute then scored a goal that I thought was a valid goal. So do you know what? I just kind of thought I'd give it a little bit back. And you know what? The goal got chalked off and I looked like a mug. Would he not have been better off just taking it on the chin like that rather than coming out? Because I think the problem is that there's a portion of fans that have jumped on the fact that he did it. And then there's another level to it where another portion of really harsh fans have gone, no, actually, you've then made me, or you've then thought that I'm an idiot.
Right.
By you making an excuse thinking that you were just trying to hear us celebrate. Like, you were clearly goading us, but you're now trying to walk that back. And I think there is the problem for like the hardcore fans that have gone, do you know what? On top of it being enough anyway, like that's really like drawn the line. Like they're not like they weren't done anyway, but they're really done now.
But what if that was legit, though? What if his reasoning was actually legit? I think we all know that Ange Postecoglou takes pride in being the Tottenham head coach. He loves being the head coach at Tottenham Hotspur, right? And so from that standpoint, why would you think that he would lie in that situation to cover his own ass? What if it was actually legit?
All right, no, that's a.
I'm just like, I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm just asking.
Yeah. No, I like that. I mean, I enjoy it. It makes for good conversation. And to be honest with you, I've seen a couple of the videos, and to me, you can take it both ways. Like the context, you can look at it and take it both ways. I think it's very, very interesting that you put that kind of twist on it. Because I guess depending on which side of the fence you sit will kind of depend on which way you kind of view it. So yeah, very interesting. We'll say hello to Jose. How are you, sir? Enjoy your football?
I'm fucking knackered.
I bet.
I'm absolutely knackered. I haven't even checked. Let me check. I'll check now that you're asking the question. I hadn't checked.
Did you win?
We lost by 1 goal.
Oh,
right. So I did.
That's another one. Another one as Ange has managed to lose by 1 goal, isn't it?
Right. Bearing in mind, I'm 56 years old.
Our audio artisan in the chat nailed it right there.
I played for 2 hours and 28 minutes.
It would have been worse admitting to antagonising your own fans, not coming back from that. Yeah, no, I guess that's fair enough.
So I played 2.5 hours. I played tonight.
nice.
So not 90 minutes, but 2.5 hours of football.
That's awesome.
No, it's not.
Well.
I'm dead.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Oh yeah. Good evening,
Well,
gentlemen.
I guess
How are you?
I mean, unless Jose, unless you've got anything you particularly like to add about the up-in scenario, I mean, is there anything you'd like to say on the matter? Any angle you'd like to give us?
What, on the Ange thing? Ange can't
Yeah.
do right. Ange can't do right from doing wrong. Listen, he does one thing, and people all go one way with it, one way, or you've got the fans that go the other way with it. You know, no one's. You don't see people down the middle. Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's got a view, but not just on yesterday, but on absolutely everything. And you know, at the end of the day, he's been backed into a corner and he's getting beaten up by everybody. They ask him the
Are we
same.
just in a scenario now where one thing's compounding the other,
Yes.
compounding the other, and
Yeah.
it's kind of is he dead man walking? What do you think?
Yeah, the vultures are circling, I think.
Do you know what? Right, you can call me whatever you want, lads. Right, but my thoughts are right. Today, I've been working all week, so I've hardly seen anything. I've not looked at any social media or anything at all. So I'm relying on what other people have been saying. And I did my show earlier, the prediction show, and when I was doing it, there was people that were talking about Paratici now not going to Milan, or something's happened. It's broken down.
Yeah, apparently some legal issues have come up, and they've basically, I don't know if they've been told that they can't, or whether they've just decided that we're going to back away just because from a media perspective, it just doesn't look good us, fraternizing with a guy that basically used to do dodgy dealings. So we're just going to be like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. So I don't know if anyone's, it doesn't look like he's going.
Okay, if that's the case that he's not going to Milan, I would be dropping as much as I possibly could to bring him back to Tottenham Hotspur, if that's an option. However, if Paratici comes back to Tottenham Hotspur, Ange Postecoglou's gone, because he doesn't favour Ange Postecoglou. He favours his own people and bringing his own people in, like a Doff and a manager should do. They should happen to be synchronised in what they're doing. And there's no synchronization between Paratici and Ange. So if Tottenham do go back in for him, then Ange he's a goner for me. However, the other side of me, and you can call me cynical, but the other side of me is they released the accounts this week, didn't they? And you also get Mr. Levy gave out he gave out, he did a piece, didn't he? He did a 68 worded message to the fans and that.
Yeah.
And to me, if from what I read with the figures and all that, we ain't spending diddly squat again. And if we're not spending diddly squat, then why would he want to sack Ange? You'd have to pay him off for a year and then bring a whole new team in. And I'm just saying, Adrian, all he looks like is penny pinching, right? He's penny pinching. So to me, I just think to myself, the cynical side of me says, why would he want to sack him? If he's not going to bring Paratici back, why would he want to sack Ange? Is what I'm saying.
Well, we could have 2 points here, right? One, if you sell Richie, Romero, Basuma, Solomon, Gill hasn't been sold yet. You're looking at bringing in at least 80-odd million quid to whatever's in the transfer kitty. So I don't expect us to spend the regular 120-odd we spent. We've actually spent since that stadium's open, because I did this the other day, and I put the link into Transfer Market because I don't like to post facts without verifying the source. And we spent $1.027 billion on players since the stadium opened in 2019. Right?
Wow.
So it's not that we haven't spent money or we won't spend money. But with Ange, though, Jose, I mean, put this to all of you in the panel. If you're Ange and you win the Europa League, don't you resign and walk away? You're not going to top it. Don't you just resign and walk away? All right, you might be kissing by 10 million. That's the only because he's got 2 years on his contract. But if I was Ange, won the Europa League, I think sod this leave. Yeah, I'm off.
It would be very Tottenham to. It would be super Tottenham to let him go if we made it all the way to the final and then cut him before the final.
Well, I don't actually think that he's guaranteed to keep his job even if he wins the Europa League. I mean, what? I mean.
Yeah, I don't think he is.
See, and a lot of fans think that way as well. I mean, like, he's not going as much as a lot of the real ardent leave you out and Ange out fans, or those that are ardent out on both of those scenarios. I mean, it's not happening before the season ends. No matter what happens, even if we lost to Southampton, it's not happening. Not while we're in the Europa League. And who do you bring in? And the list of candidates is pretty poor anyway. It is poor. I'd
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
get an unknown.
I'll put a comment.
Someone like Xavi, who knows football because he played something like 767 games for Barcelona, I'd go for him because he brought them out of Barcelona. But all the others, even Areola and all that, Frank, Terzin, you know,
I put a comment in somebody else's stream yesterday and said, if Tottenham's list is any of them Premiership managers, then it's not worth it. Not worth it, because none of them managers would come and improve our side. They wouldn't make us into winners. None of them managers that we've been linked with would make us winners. The only manager for me that can do anything, because I know that he's worked with kids and stuff like that, and he's got, you know, he's got nothing to lose, would be someone like Xavi. And someone like Paratici would favour someone like Xavi. But all your Areolas, your Franks, your Silvers and all that, they ain't upgrades. Honestly, they really aren't upgrades. So
yeah, I'd rather take a chance on an unknown. I mean, Pochettino was an unknown when he come from Southampton, really. He was a gamble. He wasn't first choice.
Sure.
I mean, I'd rather... Surely there's got to be good managers in South America and Argentina or Brazil.
But what I'll say to you as well, to the panel is, right, I keep hearing this. So many people say, yeah, but you're getting a manager ain't got Prem experience. A manager ain't got Prem experience. Right, go through it. Glasner's gone to Palace, didn't have Premiership experience. Frank went to Brentford, no Premiership experience. What bloody manager has had Premiership experience? Hertz has gone to Brighton. None of these people have got Premiership experience. The teams do their homework, take a punt, bring the manager in. None of them have got Premiership experience, though, and they turn out to be... Klopp didn't have Premiership experience. Guardiola didn't have Premiership experience. You know...
True.
All the managers, they don't have Premiership experience nowadays. So, you know, people say, yeah, but they haven't. I just find it a feeble excuse, because all managers come from other leagues at the moment.
But Spurs fans, their DNA, those are old enough like me, the DNA is you want a manager, first of all, it's traditional with this club to play attractive attacking football. That's the first option. But now, because we've got the best crop of academy players that I've ever seen, having watched all the games last year that they played, right, and we're in a final next Friday. The under-17s are in a final against Charlton next Friday in a League Cup. You want a manager who's going to bring them in and not frightened to put them in the team and try it. Whereas most managers are more worried about keeping hold of their jobs, and they're risk averse. They're risk averse. That's why I like Poch, because he's say players in the final third, take a risk in the final third. You know, but
all of this is contingent on Johan Lange's job status come the summer, right? Because as of right now, like, the reason why they're not going to make a decision on Ange Postecoglou right now, because who are you going to bring in? Are you going to hand the reins over to Ryan Mason, or are you going to find some retread for a short term, spell before you move into your next manager? They're not. Andoni Iraola isn't going to come in right now. Not with the way Bournemouth playing. Neither is Marco Silva. The guy that Johan Lange really wants is Thomas Frank, because he's a Danish brother from another mother. But that being said, if the reins hand over to a guy like Paratici, I would happen to agree with you that he's going to want to bring in his own. He has his own profile of what of a manager that he feels like he can work with, right? So a lot of this is contingent on Johan Lange and whether or not he's going to be around. And quite frankly, he probably should have been fired. He probably should have been fired after this last winter transfer window, when he bungled not one but two potential signings, and it took Ange Postecoglou to convince Matisse Tell after Johan Lange couldn't convince him, Daniel Levy couldn't convince him. For me, right there, and then of course when you bungle an easy layup like Randall Kolo Muani, who decides, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna go down and play for Juventus. That right there was enough that I needed to know that, he probably should have been let go right after that point.
Yeah, you're talking about, Adrian, you talked about you think we're going to raise this money. I don't see us raising any money for these players with Langer, because Langer can't purchase and he can't sell, because Langer hasn't got the networks. And Lang does nothing for me. He's done nothing. Scott Munn does nothing for me. So at the end of the day, if you bring back, if Paratici comes back, if he were to come back, right? Paratici sat on the board when he was at Tottenham before he got his sanction. He sat on the board. He was the footballing director on the board. As soon as Paratici went or stepped down or whatever and became a contractor, they brought Scott Munn in. But Scott Munn is a spreadsheet merchant. He's not a footballing man. So for me, if you're gonna bring Paratici in, then Langer and Munn can't be there. And obviously he won't have
we will bring money in because Spurs fans have a habit, and I don't blame them for thinking that way this season. When we're looking at some of the players, oh yeah, they're all rubbish, they're not worth a penny, right? Well, I mean, you could look at Basuma, who I want out of the club, right? Now we'll look at that from our perspective of what we've seen this season. But from Palace, who are interested in a player, there's one on record of being interested in a player, and that they see it as from a different angle to us. They see what the player is, how skillful he is, blah blah blah. It's been lightweight for us, but and they'll pay 20-25 mil for him because you can't get a midfielder that cheaper that's Premiership proven. When you look at someone like Richarlison, I mean, I want him out the club as well, right? But how many number 9s are there out there? Chelsea haven't got one. Arsenal haven't got one. Calvert-Lewin's not signing a new contract at Everton where he's been linked. So because there's a shortage and there's a demand for number 9s and there's a shortage, Spurs will get bucks for Richarlison. Mark my words. If you went to Saudi, obviously, to get a lot more, but they'd get 40-45 million for Richarlison just because there are no strikers out there to buy at that value. And so there is demand, but I get it from our perspective as Spurs fans. We think he's rubbish. We'll be lucky to get 20 mil for him, or we'll only get 10 mil for Basuma because he's in the last year of contract. Don't believe it. Don't you believe it? Because, I mean, and if Romero goes, we will get 65-70 million for him minimum. So we may not have the 120 mil if Levy's going on because revenues have dropped. But when you add that 80-90 million to what's in the pot, there's no reason why we shouldn't have a decent transfer window. And there aren't marquee signings out there. None that would come to our club because unless we win the Europa League, we won't have European football. And the best players go to European Champions League clubs, don't they? So you're not going to prize them away either. So you're only going to prize players away by paying them top wages. And we're only willing to go around probably 200. Might jump to 250 now, but I think we've got a limit of about 200k a week. Wish I could earn that in a week.
Our limit is
right.
And
we just got to say real quickly, guys, just sort of say goodbye to Alan. He's got to go and do adult things and father things.
Great to see you all. Nice to meet you guys. Great to see you guys.
How's a regular Friday?
Yeah, I will. Thank you so much, guys. Great to see you all. Come on, you Spurs.
And while you're here, we've got 67 people viewing the channel. Probably most of you are on our XCOM account. If you like the content, please come in the chat channel here. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, give the content a thumbs up, and spread the word, guys. We've been going we're in our 9 months now, I think. 9 months we've been going. We're doing well. We class ourselves as a discerning, mature, and sensible group. We can get a bit prickly and spicy when the club make a PR blunder, which isn't usually too far away. So, we're pleased we've got 65 viewing, 66 now viewing us here. So, like I said, spread the word of Spurs Diehards TTID.
And this is Alan's channel down at the bottom here.
Alan's link below.
Thank you, guys. Great to see you guys, and hopefully we have some joy against Southampton.
Yeah, we'll see you next week, man. Have a good game.
We're trying to get Jose subs up to 1,000. He does excellent work, like doing predictions on the leagues he runs, and it's all good fun. We have a bit of banter in there, chasing each other down on the points for the leagues and things like that. So get over to Eltel Cockerell and subscribe. We want to get him up to 1,000 subs, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we've also got Stateside Footy 27. This is Steve as well. You can go and catch his show on YouTube.
And our
And,
fantastic
yeah,
debutante Steve here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
be sure
we
to
got
get
a-
over and subscribe.
And we got a show tomorrow morning.
Yes, we do actually have a show
That
tomorrow
is going
morning.
to be
I'll be on with
on the channel. It should be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I'll have to get over to that link. I will subscribe, Steve. Right,
Well,
Yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely.
it. Thank you. But
All right.
getting back to what you just said, though, you're absolutely right. I think the most important thing to understand is the cost of winning continues to rise every single season, right? Which is why inter transfers within the UK are continuing to rise as well too, because the top 10 teams are shooting for European spots. So ultimately, that cost is going to come in. But when you think about the loss of a guy like Richarlison, Yves Bissouma, and Christian Romero, that's $100 million right there, added on top of to the allotted transfer budget that was already in place. There's enough wiggle room where you can bring in 3-4 players that are going to make an absolute, that are going to improve this team straight away. The question that I actually ask you is, number one, do you believe that Johan Lang is going to be the guy to identify that talent and being able to bring them in? Or is this going to be a situation where you would probably assume that if you're going to make a move for Paratici, that has to be like the deal has to be in place for him to step in and hit the ground running?
I don't think anything happens until our fate in the Europa League is decided. That could be a game changer again.
Yeah,
it might not. It may be. It might. And the other thing with Langer is we hear the rumor that Levy had to go and get the Tell deal done, which doesn't look a good deal to me at the moment, because what he's shown, even though I've watched videos of him playing on the left, he looks superb. But he's not oven ready. Like Odegaard, he's not oven ready. And you wonder why a front three misfires. You've got to be able to apply pressure on both wings. And if you're not got oven ready players, they just block off the Sonny side because he's the biggest threat when he's on form, and Odegaard should be easier to handle on the other side. So unless we get, a brilliant ball through the middle to Solanke or something like that, or Maddison gets around the edge of the area and gets a shot off, we're limited straight away. I mean, I think we're too easy to prevent from playing.
I'm going to ask you guys a question, right? So on YouTube, you get the Tottenham Hotspur channel that shows training sessions, and stuff like that. And I'm not sure how many of you watch them. I watch them. And when I see the training sessions, I see the same. It doesn't matter what day I see the training sessions. It's the same session. They play the ball out wide and then the ball comes into the box, right? And that's what I always see. However, in last night's game and recently, yesterday, I think Sonny took his man on once in the first half. Odegaard didn't get past his man once, and Sonny and Odegaard didn't put one cross into that box yesterday. So someone like Solanke, who feeds off all that, Solanke for me has regressed as a footballer since he's come to us, because he doesn't get any service. And at the end of the day, if he was the man that Ange went for and identified because of the way that Bournemouth played last season and what he did with Bournemouth, then why aren't we feeding him? Because if we feed him, I'm sure he will score goals. So there is something seriously amiss, because if you're doing it in training and then you're not doing it on the pitch, then there's something seriously amiss by it all. And I'm not too sure what the answer is, but the ball gets played out wide and they don't cross and they don't take a man on. Solanke never gets the ball. All Solanke does is donkey work for us. Solanke doesn't score goals because he doesn't get fed. And yesterday, the thing that annoyed me the most about, I mean, I don't want to lose to Chelsea ever. But I've taken a right beating over the years about Chelsea, and I just don't want to lose to Chelsea. But what annoyed me more than anything yesterday was the fact that these two players did not cross the ball and did not feed our striker. How's our striker going to score goals if you don't feed him? What, did you want him to pick the ball up on the edge of our box and run the length of the field? Because Solanke ain't going to do that. You need to feed him. And I just can't understand how we're not feeding him.
Mappin, you haven't said anything for a while. Are you still there?
Yeah. I think with what Jose said, I think we also don't have wingers who can cross the ball, right? Who doesn't have that pinpoint crossing ability, right, onto the striker's head. And I think with Solanke, I think he doesn't move inside the box that very well. I think he needs to find space in the box so that players will find him. I think he's a bit lackluster in terms of his movement inside the box. That's what I feel in terms of Solanke. But talking about the wingers, I think they don't have the ability to cross the ball that perfectly well. And Son, he wasn't that much of a good crosser of the ball whenever, even at his prime age. And Johnson can't cross. I think the only one who can cross is Poor and Kulusevski, and they didn't
Yeah.
play yesterday. I think
Yeah.
Johnson cannot cross, Tail can't cross, and Odebert can't cross at all. I've never seen these players cross a ball in my life.
Yeah.
That's some valid points. I mean, I've never.
Sorry, I was just
Sorry.
going to say about crosses. It just goes to show, though, not just us, when it says we're up there with the top crosses in the league. Yeah, let's not mistake that with the fact that very few teams put crosses into the box. That is why.
Yeah.
Very few teams put crosses into the box.
Yeah, it's becoming less and less now because you're coached not to lose the ball, and if you know, it's one of those things where I guess they've done the percentages and they've crunched the numbers and they've decided that, you know, regardless of the accuracy of a cross actually going to a person that's on your team is less likely. So therefore, you got to get to the byline and almost like cross it, just almost like square it to the penalty spot for a tap in. Like it's almost like just overplaying for the sake of it.
But we're not even doing that, Blaine. Sorry, Drew. We're not even doing that.
We're not.
Crossing the ball, people are going to say crossing the ball is the ball getting lifted, into the box. But it's not even that. I'm talking about if you get past your man, even if you drill it in low into the box, we're not even doing that. So Solanke's just not getting fed at all because we're not even doing that. So when I'm talking crosses, maybe I should have explained it better. Crosses is obviously lifting the ball. I'm just talking about getting past the player and putting the ball in the box.
We discussed earlier on about how, on the right side, I mean, typically Sonny wants to come in and try and ping it on his right foot. I mean, more often than not, he'll cut in and either try and go for goal or he ends up passing it off if he gets crowded out. And Odeberg last night and Spence on a few occasions were guilty of having an opportunity to attempt. I'm not going to say have an opportunity to beat their man because, you don't necessarily always beat them all of the time. But there were instances where they could have gone to the byline and they pulled a U-turn and went back infield. I completely. When we're just not. And I posed the question earlier. Is that a lack of confidence? Is that a lack of ability? Is that just the entire front six being very inconsistent because they haven't really played much together, even over the last couple of years? I mean, just to pull out a random stat, but Christian Romero has missed more Premier League games than he's played together with VDV. I think they've played together like 39 times and, Romero's missed like 60 odd games. So, this is still a young team in terms of how many times people have played together. But, so that's just, I don't know if that plays a part. I don't know but I completely agree. We are not even getting to the byline to put in a cross to a potential Solanke. I mean, a Richarlison if he was available. The whole lot looks a little bit disjointed and kind of, out of ideas, really.
We see that with every team that plays this horseshoe football, though, don't we? They get the ball down to the wing, and there's no one in the middle. There's no one in the middle across the ball too. Yeah. This is another way this horseshoe. Someone aptly put horseshit football is played.
Horseshit football.
It's not horseshoe football. It's horseshit.
The difference is, Adrian. The difference is that if you've got a team that are very, very good and have played together and are familiar, they're like a breathing organ.
Yeah, I think
right? They all move together and they all go in a kind of a flow. And the idea, I mean, they're obviously good enough in possession to be able to keep doing that to a point where one of the opposition makes a mistake. And the problem is with us, and I've been saying it for the last, I don't know, probably 12, 18 months, I just don't understand where our passing has gone. And I don't know if it's because of the injuries, because it's so inconsistent, because we're trying to play a new style. and because everybody doesn't quite know where everybody is, I just don't see the pinpoint passing that used to be part of a Spurs team, especially in the midfield. Like we used to be able to control the ball, recycle it. We used to be able to ping it out to the wings. And I just it seems to have been one thing that has really, really fallen off. And I don't know if anyone's, I don't know if anyone agrees, anyone disagrees. I mean, I'll throw it to the panel.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember I was going to say, do you guys remember the first Everton match this season where you actually?
I went to the game.
Yeah, you had that bravery from Kulusevski to actually try to make runs into the box where a defender peels off to go cover him, and then there was a weighted pass that was slammed home by Yves Bissouma, right? But he also had the outlet pass on the other side to Pedro Porro, who can fling a ball in across the face of the goal, right? One of the things that I have noticed over the course of the last couple of months is that we don't have any central attackers that are going to be brave enough to actually make those runs, to actually have multiple angles in which to deliver the ball into the box. And so unfortunately, we're stuck on the wings. We've made that conscious decision to be stuck on the wings. And the problem is when you don't play a guy like Pedro Porro, you don't have that 1-2 pass, you don't have that small little overlap where you can feed it back to him from the right side, where he can actually go 1v1, make a move, and then put a ball in the box, or attack the touchline, or try to put one in. We didn't have that ability yesterday, and this is no disrespect to Jed Spence. He's just a different type of player, a good player, just a different type of player. And Destiny Udogie, listen, man, and this is no disrespect to Destiny Udogie, but he's not Anthony Robinson. He doesn't have those low crosses off an overlap off the left side. It's just not his game. And quite frankly, it's interesting considering that Tottenham attack with their wing backs. It's kind of interesting that Destiny Udogie gets a lot of run as a starting wing back. It just seems that that profile doesn't necessarily work all that well for Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah. I do find it of all the things like to criticize Jed Spence, and I think since he's come back he has been fantastic. But yeah, one of the things you could say is that it's very, very rare that I see him look up and put a pinpoint, cross into the box. But then, like you just said, the same can kind of be said of Udogie. And I don't know whether that's necessarily true of how he's always been, because I'm sure in Italy he did a lot of overlapping, even though he used to cut inside. He did do overlapping, and he was pretty good at crossing, or so I was led to believe. But that seems to have diminished a little bit as well.
Do you know what's interesting though is that Jed Spence is a better forward attacker on the left side than he is on the right, and the right is his natural position.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I think when I've seen him over there, obviously because he can cut in and he's obviously dangerous on his right foot, and that's how he got his goal a couple of weeks back. But then also he doesn't have a problem overlapping Sonny and giving their fullback a question. Like he actually goes to the byline a lot more and actually gives Sonny a bit more space. So I'm wondering whether we'll see that coming back into play at some point during the rest of the season. But we'll tell you what, that's a pretty good segue. Actually, we'll move on to the preview of Southampton, and we'll start looking at maybe the predictive lineup, considering we've obviously got Frankfurt at home on the Thursday. So, I'm pretty sure we're obviously, Vicario is going to be in goal. I think that's just a one and done. So
that's wrong from me. He's not in the squad.
No, fine.
Say that again, Adrian.
I said Kingsky's not in the squad.
Yeah, Kinski. This is the squad for the Euros, but this is against Southampton, right? So
that's my banner. I screwed them up.
No, it's all good. For Southampton, obviously Vicario is going to be in goal, and then I guess of the three, Tel, what do you think? What do you think we're going to do with the fullbacks, Southampton?
Firstly, I'm going to say I was on a channel yesterday leaving comments, and for me, we've got 5 players that have just come back into the lineup who've been out injured for a while, right? Mm-hmm. And if anything, for me, these boys need minutes to get up to full match fitness. And some of the players that have come back from injury, we're going to need them from now to the end of the season. And we need them to be as fit as possible for the Europa games as well. So for me, if I'm Ange, you stick with your twist, don't you? But if I'm Ange, I'm not making many changes. Honestly, I won't make many changes at all. Yeah, in the fullback position, you can make a change. Me personally, I would go for playing Southampton. I'd probably go Porro right back, Spence left back, a doggy to the bench.
Yep.
Spence looked good on the left as well.
Yeah,
Spence
does
Porro right, Spence left, and drop.
Yeah.
Put a doggy on the bench for Sunday.
Yeah, I would have Spence at left back and Porro on the right, but I also think that Van de Ven and Spence actually work well together on that left side as a left-sided defensive unit.
I would actually go Udogie and Porro because I think Udogie needs he needs more game time under his bench.
But what's the priority, right? For Ange Postecoglou, it's not only winning Europe, but also finishing the league strong as well, too. If he has any shot, you want to put your best 11 out there, regardless if you're playing on Thursday.
Well, I mean, you can always bring Spence on. I mean, he's got the option with a sub. So, like, I would keep Spence for Thursday. And I would go, and he might get minutes, second half, 20 minutes, half hour. But I would go Udogie and Porro because Porro came on a sub. And I think Udogie needs as much game time in his legs as possible. But it's subjective, isn't it? So
can I ask you a question real quick? Who do you think is best for the team right now at left back, Spence or Udogie?
Spence, I think.
I think Spence.
Yeah, I would say Spence.
But I do agree that Udogie needs the minutes, so it's a difficult conundrum, right? But yes, for the benefit
if that's your priority, though.
Spence. Yeah, I think I would start the strongest. I would start Spence in the hope of maybe then moving him over. If you need to play both for 90 minutes, then you play both for 90 minutes. Or if you can drop Spence over to the right after 70 and give Udogie another 20, or somehow split the difference that way. But yeah, I guess I probably am inclined to agree. I've said for the last few weeks that I want to be as high up the league as possible, and I want to win the Euros. I don't want to sack off the league. I mean, even at the very least, for the £3 million that you get for each place that as high as you get. So, if there's a chance, if there's 12 million on the table, I'd like to take another 12 million, please. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of in agreement. I'd want the strongest. But Adrian, do you have a counter to that? Would you still play Udogie?
Yeah, I mean, a little thing in the back of my mind is whether the team we see at Chelsea is the one that's going to play Thursday as well, knowing that he can rest players against Southampton Sunday. I mean, you don't know. Angie's full of surprises. I mean, one thing he said, and he did this before, even when Romero and VDV came back against that Chelsea match at home, right, and no one expected them to be on the pitch. He said with Danso and Kulusevski, he said, they're a week or two away. Now, Danso, so it wouldn't even surprise me if we were to see Decky on Thursday. I don't think we'll see him Sunday. I'm going to the game, but I don't think we'll see him Sunday. But on the fullbacks, yeah, I would go Udogie and Porro. I think we see signs against Chelsea of the team we'd like to play. It didn't perform well, but we'll be at home for that game against Frankfurt, so it's different.
Fair enough. Mappin, your thoughts? Do you have anything other than that?
Yeah, I think it's good to go with Spence and Porro. I think they're the one who will be starting in the Europa League. I think it's good to give minutes and keep them fit and sharp. So I think Ange will go with Spence and Porro, I think.
Okay, cool. Alrighty. Well, I'll tell you what, I've added a couple of names then because Danzo questionable. We don't know if he's available. Gray I've put because I can see potentially I can see VDV and Romero getting another 90 minutes, but I can also see, there has been mentioned that they're going to try and wrap VDV in cotton wool a little bit. He did start cramping up at the end of the game. Davies is, a deputy. It's Southampton, lads. I personally think we'll see VDV and Romero again. But, what are your thoughts? And we'll go Steve first. What do you think?
I can see a scenario where Ben Davies or Archie Gray gets a run at left center back. It all depends on how Van de Ven's calf is. he hobbled off a little bit and then gets subbed out. So the question is he going to be match fit for Sunday? If that's the case, you kind of have to go with VDB and Rivero, just considering you have to get their sharpness back. And that only happens by them continuously playing together. That being said, you can still manage midgets. If that is a priority, you can do that by subbing in Davies or Gray at the 60th minute if you really kind of want to go that way. But that being said, if Van de Ven is not ready to go, then I would probably assume it's going to be Ben Davies. But if he is, it's going to be VDB and Romero.
Fair play. I don't know if this is hot off the press news coming in. I'm not quite sure where you got this from, Ronnie, but I'm not going to call you a liar. I fully believe you. Potentially VDV, Maddison, and Son won't be involved on Sunday. So I mean, possibly, not possibly. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. It makes perfect sense that they would all be rested. But I guess it moves to Gray's been more than reliable, I think, personally. And I guess Davies we've got to get back in. So, I mean, one way or another, I think Romero probably starts, doesn't he? Because, after the 290 minutes in this one, he looks to be at least back to something resembling match fitness. Now he just needs the sharpness, right?
Yeah, he had 180 minutes for Argentina, didn't he?
Yeah. I think,
he's got more games in his legs than VDV's got, so.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I think match fitness and match sharpness. I mean, I know some people say semantics, but I think there is a slight difference there. So, I think probably he gets another 90 minutes under his belt. And then moving into midfield. I guess potentially Maddison not available. I get that. What do we think? We'll start with you, Tel. Where are we going in the midfield this week?
Jose. It's Jose.
Oh, Jose. Jose.
I would go personally. Mm-hmm. This is where I would change the midfield up. I would go first three that you've got on the list there. The three young ones. I'd go Gray, Bergvall, and Sarr.
Wow.
All three. Yeah. I'd have Gray as the holding, I think, more or less, and Bergvall and Sarr as the eights to float around. Because the one thing that you've got there with them three players is you've got engines. All three of them have got an engine on them. And great out of all the players in the first team, apart from another player that I'm going to talk about later, there's two players for me that have their minutes have just dropped off a cliff. And Gray is one of them in midfield. And there's an attacker whose minutes have dropped off a cliff as well. So I would go Gray. Let Gray play in the Bentancur position. Give Gray the opportunity. That's what everyone says, that Gray is that player who's a six. Bergvall got substituted. Sarr came on as a substitute. So for me, they probably need Sarr and Gray definitely need minutes in the legs. Bergvall, I mean, I wouldn't put Basuma in the side. I'd keep the young three. I'd have the engine of the young three.
But do you think you would do that though, Jose? Because I think when are you going to give Basuma game time unless he comes on as a sub against Southampton? If you don't do it now, I mean, I don't want him at the club, but
if you do you right? So, the question for you is right, or the question is, does he trust Basuma?
I think he doesn't.
Okay, and is Basuma going to be involved in the starting lineup on Thursday, right? And then that's the way I look at that, and I look at Gray and think to myself, Gray's got to be given the time to get some minutes in. He is your future. It's Gray. Basuma's not your future. You don't trust Basuma. So at the end of the day, like I said, you're asking. I'm not saying what Ange's going to do. I'm saying what I would do. And what I would do is I'd go Gray, Bergvall, and Sarr.
I actually think Maddison starts in this game. We need to win. We need creativity. And then
was there an article? I heard someone. I don't know. I might be talking shit.
No, this is their choice. I
thought I heard someone earlier on, not on this channel, but on another channel. I thought I heard someone say that there was an article or an interview or something, or that Maddison has spoken to Tuchel or something like that, and that the discussion was that Maddison hasn't got the fitness to play a full 90 minutes anymore.
Is that so?
Makes sense, considering that he doesn't play a full 90. Makes sense.
So I don't know how true that is, but there is.
I think
Stories out
it's,
the team.
personally, I
Can't
think
think of
Maddison starts. And then I think you rest Bergvall for Thursday. And I think Bentancur, it'll be Bentancur and Sarr, and Gray might come on with some minutes. But I think it will be Sarr, Bentancur and Maddison against Southampton.
Yeah, I think Bergwell needs to rest as well.
Yeah, I think that if it were up to me and if I had the pressure on my shoulders to deliver 3 points, I'm starting Maddison, Bentancur, and Sarr. But that being said, if that is true and Maddison will be held out, then yeah, it would probably end up being Sarr, Bentancur, and Bergvall, with Gray possibly coming off the bench. And the crazy thing about this is, and I tend to agree with everybody that's in the chat that's taught, and most Spurs fans that want to see Gray get a start at his natural position. But that being said, if Ange thought he was ready, he already been played by now. He's only played at his natural position once. He's usually been played out of position. I actually do believe that this probably would be a good match to actually start him at his natural position. But that being said, it's most likely going to be Bergvall, Sarr, and Bentancur if Maddison is indeed out. But I would go
look,
Maddison. I would play Maddison.
We should think of it as like 90 minutes because these players might only be given an hour. You know, I mean, like, and then you got 5 subs you can bring on unless you need 2 concussions. So I think we can go down that route.
Yeah. And that's the reason why I actually think Maddison is going to play, because I mean, if you're going to sub him off in the 65th or 70th minute anyways, he's probably going to have that recovery time to be able to play on Thursday. And if you're desperate for 3 points, you have to play your best 11.
Yeah. We're desperate for 1 point.
It's very, very true. All right. So, well, yeah, with that being said, we've got the front line. Son, Taylor, Solanke, Richarlison, Scarlett Johnson, Odegaard.
Where's Mikey Moore?
Yeah, where is Mikey Moore?
Yeah,
where is Mikey Moore?
Why have I forgot to put Mikey Moore on this list?
He's with the U21s, isn't he?
No, I think he hasn't played for under 21.
No, he played for the under 19s, Mikey Moore,
The
because he's only
U19s, there you go.
For England, for England.
There we go. Hang on. There you go. How's that?
Well done.
Nice one, Kai. He's speedy there.
Right, I'm going to be a bit left field here. I think Richarlison starts to rest Solanke. I think Richarlison starts because you can always take him off. It's Southampton. You can always take him off.
We're talking about glass slippers.
Well, when are you going to play? He's fit now, training with the squad. So he's definitely going to be on the bench or start this game, because otherwise, when are you going to give him minutes?
Adrian, how many times has Richarlison come back, trained with the squad, played 1 game, got injured, goes back out again, comes back, trains with the squad, starts the game or comes on a sub, gets injured again?
The only reason I don't think he starts is because he's coming back from an injury and he hasn't yet made a sub appearance. So I don't think if you're coming back from an injury as significant as his, I don't think you've got 45 minutes in you. And given the whole, you don't make changes in the first half typically, I don't think he's got 45 minutes in his legs. So therefore, it's more likely he comes on 60, 70 minutes rather than starting and having to be pulled off after 30 because shit's gone sideways.
Would you start Scarlett and rest Solanke? I think Solanke rest.
No, because I think Solanke needs match fitness. Or sharpness, rather. I think his first touch has been a little bit wayward. And I think, to be fair, he's got a bit of a tank on him, like as far as he's got like an engine. So I think I would start him and I would bring Scarlett on maybe for the last 10, 20 minutes. I would, to be honest with you, I'd go with Solanke. I'd go with Johnson, probably, because I'd be more Solanke and Johnson, I think. There's my one.
And who's on the left?
There's more.
Good man.
Correct.
Yeah.
I could see Chelsea starting on the left. I'd like to see him on the left because the videos I've watched the player, and he is a talent, but he's shown nothing in the league. So apart from that goal of Villa and a bit of a work effort, but he's not shown he's worth 45 to 55 million, that's for sure.
I would start with, I really don't care about the right hand side, but the left hand side, I would start with Mikey Moore. And the reason why I would start with Mikey Moore is because on Sunday, in the Southampton side, that they may have young Tyler Diblin playing for them. And I just say to people, who's the better player, Moore or Diblin? Because if Tottenham are really after this Diblin player, well, then you can't rate Mikey Moore then, can you? If you're going after Diblin. So, I think Mikey Moore, you need to back Mikey Moore and, let him have a run at Southampton. You got to remember, times are different. But when we played Southampton away, we were 5-0 up at half time. So, at the end of the day, you could have, I'd play Solanke myself, but, you could have Moore, Tell, and Johnson as your front three tomorrow. If you're
Love this comment. Love this comment. It's funny. I love it. Players shouldn't even break sweat.
Yeah, sure.
I actually think that Ange has to set up this attack that actually gives him the best opportunity to get service in the ball. I'm actually starting Odegaard on the left. I don't think Sonny deserves to be anywhere near the starting 11 tomorrow. Regardless of whether it's a rest issue, I just don't think he's got the form anymore in order to make that type of impact. I actually think Odegaard is best off the left. I think he gives his team the best opportunity for service and also attacking prowess. I have Solanke starting up top because why wouldn't you start him for everything that Drew said? But also he's our best attacking option. Who else is going to play there? And on the right, this is where I actually have Mikey Moore starting. I actually have Moore starting on the right. I actually think Moore can play both right or left. I think he's got the creativity from that side. Plus, he does exactly what Ange Postecoglou wants from a winger. He's also young. He's aggressive, and he doesn't mind doing the little things, just like Bergvall as well too. And then if you want to make changes on the wings, you can do that. You can bring Matisse Tell in off the left right around the 65th minute if you want to preserve Odegaard. And you can also bring Brennan Johnson off the right if you want to do that in the same time frame as well too. So my attacking three is Odegaard, Solanke, and Moore.
Am I right in saying can Moore play 10 as well?
Yes, he can, in my opinion. He can play anywhere in the front.
He played it for the 19s and the 17s, didn't he? At some point.
Yeah, he's always he's right-footed and he plays on the left to cut in a lot of time when he wants to. For England, right. For the under-21s though, they played him on the right because we had a good winger on the left. Right. So, but he could play in midfield as well because he can carry the ball. He goes short. If he sees a bit of space, he then bursts into it and all that. He's not the quickest player in the world. He's got perfect balance. It reminds me of the way he shifts.
What was the goal in Europe where he there was the ball that kind of
spilled
in his field and he came from deep, sort of almost a 10 position,
diagonally across the penalty area, didn't put it in the far corner.
I've never celebrated a goal as much as that one in my life. I was really happy for him.
Really happy.
I would like to see Dane Scarlett get involved in this game at some point. As much as I do like Richarlison, and I still think there's something left in his boots, whether that's for Tottenham or whether that's for a different team, be it. I think Drew, you made the most important point. I don't think he's even got 15 minutes in his tank at this point. And you have a guy like Dane Scarlett who's hungry, who wants to get in the game, who wants to find himself in advantageous positions in the box. I think this is actually a good opportunity for him to get at least 15 minutes tomorrow. Or Sunday.
Sunday, guys. Sunday at 2:00. So you got to get up early, Steve, to watch this game, right?
Don't worry, I'll be there. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we're hardcore. We get up back crack of dawn over here. All right, so Sunday we have Southampton at home, the mighty Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the greatest sports stadium in modern football. I know the big up is real. And then obviously Thursday we have Frankfurt back again at the home of mediocre football, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And then Wolves away the following Sunday. And then obviously Frankfurt away. So based on those, what do we think in terms of point? Let's call it the P and the P, right? Points and progression. How many points we getting, and are we progressing? And I'll put this to Mappin first. Huh?
Oh, go on, Mappin, go on.
Mappin,
Well,
what do you reckon?
I think Southampton is a guaranteed win. Apart from that, I didn't see any
Whoa.
wins.
Calm down on the guarantees. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, Mappin, we've got a saying: if you want a guarantee, buy a toaster.
And even then,
Yeah, but if you can't beat Southampton, there's no point. Just shut this football club. If you can't beat Southampton at home, if you lose like Ipswich and Leicester, then I don't know. I'm speechless with engine at this football club. I think Wolves away. I think it will be a tough game. Have we got any easier game coming up at home? Like we got to play Liverpool, West Ham, Wolves, any mid-table teams. I think Nottingham Forest are also about to come at Tottenham. So I think maximum I can see points on table would be 6 to 3 points, and we might finish up to 13th or 14th. I didn't see us finishing higher than that.
oh god, that's funny.
So yeah, I think it's a tough season for us if we don't win Europa League or at least get to the finals. Or semi-finals, I would say.
Jose, how are we doing in this
Jose, what do you reckon? Points and progression. And chat, obviously, get involved as well. Give us your points, give us your progression. Are we getting 0 points, 2 points, 4 points, 6 points? And are we progressing or not progressing? There we go. What do we reckon?
3 points against Southampton.
Yep.
We will win at home against Frankfurt.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
We will score. We will get 3 points at Wolves.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah.
And we will draw away at Frankfurt.
Whoa,
So we qualify for the
6
semi-final.
points and progressing. 6 points in a semi.
I think we win at home and we draw away.
I like that. I like that.
We knocked
Adrian?
them out of Europe before, but that was a long time ago. On the away goals, Oddle scored. We lost 2-1 at their place, but progressed.
6 points and progressing. Adrian, happy with that?
4 wins. I think
4 wins.
I think Frankfurt they've sold Omar Mamouche to Man City. He's gone.
I think they still have that striker, that Itiker, what's his name? I think he's clinical.
Ekitike, but I tell you what, people are boiling over about Ekitike. He ain't as good as what people are saying he is.
Oh,
People are boiling over.
That's not the same. That's not the Ekitike that we had, is it?
No.
He's not going to come back to haunt us because we had an Ekitike. Okay,
no, this is the guy that was at PSG.
Yeah, I think this guy's different.
Steve, what are you thinking? Points progression?
Number one, we beat Southampton comfortably. We've done it before. We did it in their building in a far worse position back a few months ago, and we do it again. We beat Southampton 3-0. Yes, we will keep a clean sheet. Yes, we will. We beat Wolves. We beat Wolves on the road 3-2. And here's a quick prediction. Next year, Cunha will be wearing a Spurs shirt next year. But also, we beat Frankfurt at home 3-1, and we draw 1-1 on the return leg, and we advance. So we take 6 points, and we advance to the semis. And by the way, that's exactly what Spurs are going to have to do in that first leg. By the way, they're going to have to run and gun. Yeah. They're going to have to come out quick, and they're going to have to get that crowd behind them early. And they're going to have to continuously apply pressure because Frankfurt is not going to lay down. So they're going to have to match intensity with.
They're going out, Steve. They're going out. I had £10 at 9 to win the competition. They're going out, right?
You can never bet at Spurs.
Yeah, and this isn't happy clapping. It's just the fact that I think Spurs are a better team than Southampton and Wolves. Now, granted, what's so funny is like everybody keeps saying about Leicester and Ipswich, and it's like I understand. I totally get it, man. We laid eggs. But that being said, it's like I want to see this team. I want to see a reaction from this team after that Chelsea match. And the thing about it is the one thing at different times this year we actually have seen this team make a reaction, and I want to see that commitment. And that's the thing is I don't want to hear players talk about it. I want to I'm done with quotes, and I'm done with people talking a good game. Yep. I want to see it actually executed on the pitch at this point. But that being said, we take 6 of 6 and we advance.
Nice. All right. Good. Well, I tell you what, we did touch on it earlier.
Who else? What about Adrian and you, Drew? I don't know what you two have got to say.
Oh, I'm just
Adrian and Drew,
I'm just to coin a phrase from Ricky Sachs, I'm just the conductor of this crazy train. To be honest with you, I'm full of optimism. I have been since I said we would go unbeaten, and have since not gone. Yeah, I said about 4 or 5 games ago we'd go unbeaten the rest of the season, and look at that car crash. So I'm going to go ahead and say 6 points. And we're going to advance. And I think Steve's right. I think we're going to have to run and gun the first game, and it's going to be seat of our pants in Frankfurt. But I think somehow, by hook or by crook, I think we'll get through. Adrian? Oh, you?
Yeah, I mean,
said, right? You said 6 points and done, right?
On the Predictions League, which Jose runs, so everyone get over to his channel and subscribe. It's good fun. I've gone for 4-0 against Southampton for us to win.
That's what I went for.
Yeah, Jose went for the same, funny enough. Yeah, we'll beat Frankfurt 3-0, maybe 4-0.
Oh my God, 4-0.
Yeah, 3 or 4-0.
Yeah. All right, I'm here for it.
Right.
By the way, Ronnie in the chat, you're 100% wrong with that quote right there.
What's that? The players are not playing for him.
Yeah, they are. They're playing hard too.
I tend to disagree. I think they are playing for us. I disagree with Ronnie. Big up, Ronnie, though. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. But
I think we'll 2-0 away.
I think the players
I think we'll beat Frankfurt 2-0 at their place.
Yes, I'm here for it, boys. I'm here for it.
Right. So an aggregate 6 goals.
Big scores.
Just on Ronnie, the players not playing for him. Look, you're a player at a club. Those of us that have played football, when you've got no chance to win the league, you really do give it all your all. They'll be giving it all in the cup competition because them players will want to win this. And it's only 4 games to the final. You beat Frankfurt over 2 legs. You play Lazio. The Doom numbers will be again saying we're going to lose these games. Yeah, we do pretty well against Italian clubs in European competitions.
Yeah, and I think against Italian clubs, I think most of these players have played in this Serie A as well. Like Romero has played in Serie A, like Udogi has played in Serie A. I think they will be able to cope with Lazio.
Yeah,
that's a good point. All right, before we go, as I said, we touched on this earlier. Obviously, the Paratici situation. I don't know. It's not. I've looked since we've been on, and it's coming out of some places, but it's not a major outlets yet. So Paratici situation potentially not going to Milan, called off. They got cold feet. So I guess rather than go through the rigmarole of, will he, won't he, should he, shouldn't he, I'm going to ask whether, not necessarily even whether it's more or less, I guess, of a benefit. What's the best way of doing this? Stick or twist? Because I think we're all in agreement that if he comes back, the current situation can't stay as it is, and probably Langer most definitely would have to go. Whether Scott Munn would go or he would still do business things in the background to be determined. But let's say, we'll go on.
There was a link today that I was reading about that, if it's true again, more speculation, everything's speculation, isn't it? On whether he would be brought in and Lane wouldn't go. Because they have both different areas of where they know leagues. With Langer, it's more Sweden, it's more the Swedish area, Northern Europe, and with Paratici, it's more the Mediterranean basin, isn't it? So
I just don't. I mean, I get where you're coming
depends-
from,
it
but
depends
can
on
you see an
what
instance
style.
where you've got somebody that's already been put in a position, and now he's got? I just think from a personal point of view. I mean, in an ideal world, maybe you can work side by side, but is there not going to be ultimately some sort of power struggle? Like you've got to have a hierarchy. You can't
100%.
have two chefs.
Well,
You can't have two chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah, you can create a new designated position at the club. You wouldn't have two directors of football, but you
Right,
create
but you've still got to have one. I don't know. I guess I was going to look at it more of as a stick or twist. I think it's got to be one or the other, and I just wanted an opinion on whether at this point you decide Langer is done and you want Paratici back for the benefit of the club, or whether you think Paratici has had his time and you think you should stay the course with Langer and bid farewell.
Yeah, but there is that, all right. I get the critique on Langer, right? But also, what you have to consider up to this point in this season, we would have had conversations with agents and players, and base agency as well. We do a lot of work with, and about players already. And we know Gomez is out of contract. We know Jonathan David's out of contract, right? Whether you like those players or not is subjective again. We know Fratese's not getting game time at Milan. We know Vlahovic is down to the last year of his contract at Juve, so Paratici could play a big part. I'd like Vlahovic and Fratese myself personally, but Langer and that look. If we hadn't been in conversation with players, and other clubs will have been too, they've been testing the water, asking, speaking with agents, blah blah blah. We've heard lots of rumours, but no gravitas. Like when it gets reported that a player's agreed to come. But that doesn't mean wages are sorted out or contracts and things like that. So, or we are speaking with the selling club. You know, that's what you want to start here, and you want something concrete, a bit of some sort of solidity of specification about what is actually going on, right? Because I've got players here. I've got 3 banners here with about 40 players we've been linked with, right?
But from what you've just said, Adrian, there's an argument that you don't get that with either of those, because with Langer, you don't get any information on anybody that's being purchased. And with Paratici, you're getting more spinning plates and more leads to more players than you have leads to dogs in a kennel. So,
we didn't hear nothing about the Bergvall deal before it came into play, did we? We
didn't
really about Yang and Hook was like, and for like 2 or 3 million. If he flops, who cares for that sort of money? You know what I mean? But at the time, I thought Bergvall was going to Barca. And Odegaard as well. He wasn't the first choice, but he was brought in quick, wasn't he? And he came from the PSG academy.
I guess from a business point of view, I'm not. I don't really mind if I hear 3, 4, 5 weeks about a player or 6 months about a player, or if I don't hear anything and then all of a sudden we buy a player. I just want it to be the right player. And I guess, that's definitely conversation that you can have. But I just, from the point of view of right now with this football club, with the direction that we're going in, I personally don't think it works with both of them. I think if you bring Paratici in, if he's below Langer, then he's like, hey, why am I below this bozo? If he's above Langer, then Langer's saying, hey, I thought I'd come in to do this thing, and now you've brought him back, so now he's above me. I don't like this. So I just think there's going to be a bit of a power struggle. I might be completely out of it. I might be completely wrong. Up until this point, they've been working together because apparently Paratici's been consulting, right? So I don't know. But I think
the profile of player that they're consulting, they don't agree. They both don't agree on things because
that's exactly right.
The profile of players that they both look at are total polar opposites. Right. And for different footballing systems, they're both looking in different directions. And it's who do you favour? Is at the end of the day, it's who do you favour?
Jose, let me ask you, Jose, what do you stick or twist? Do you stick with Langer or do you twist and go with Paratici?
Paratici all fucking day long. 8 days a week, 15 months of the year, all my lifetime, it's Paratici. with Paratici, there's some of the players that Adrian's talked about, right? Vlahovic, I don't rate him as much as Adrian, but he's rated throughout the world as a good striker. He's only 24 years old. Last year of his contract. Now, who's going to get him? Will Paratici be able to do some manoeuvres on him, or is Langer going to be able to? You're looking at a different caliber of player when you look at Paratici signings. Yeah, and the other guy, Langer, he goes for very, very young players. And the other thing about Langer is Langer's not able to move players out. And it's a known thing that a lot of these deals that have been happening, he cannot get them across the line. Someone has to come in at least with Paratici. When Paratici was there, Paratici didn't have to call in fucking Daniel Levy to go and finish a deal for him. He went and done it. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I'd go Paratici all day long. And obviously as well, Paratici started the whole revolution about changing our academy at Tottenham Hotspur. That was all started by Fabio Paratici. So we've got young players that are better caliber than what we've ever had as youngsters, and that's all through Fabio's work. So to me, Langer does. I don't know what Langer does. The other thing final point I'm going to say is and people are going to be bored because I've said this before, when Tottenham went for Langer, Aston Villa said, yeah, you can have him. There was no gardening leave. Normally these doffs have to go on gardening leave for a while. There was no gardening leave. Villa just said, yeah, you can have him. And they got rid of him quickly because they wanted to bring Monchi in, or whoever it went. I think it was Monchi that went to Villa. So for me, it's Paratici all day long.
Yeah, well, he's got a very good strike record with transfers. On average at clubs, it's considered good if you get it 50% right and 50% wrong. But Paratici's strike rate is about 65%, 66%. So, and the players we've got into this club, I mean, like we got Bentancur for 16 million, Kulu, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the players that have come in, I mean, like, have been good. I mean, like Solanke's coming under Langer as well. I mean, I don't really know what the Langer effect has actually been in this club. But it's still speculation, even those that are like castigating. It's still speculation. But we'll see. But I don't think anything will be decided until after our Europa League fate's decided. Because if Ange decides to quit and wins the cup, or if we get knocked out and he gets sacked in the summer, then I think we might bring Paratici in early. But there was word out there on one report I read that when we was rumoured to be linked with Paratici before, and fans were panicking, oh, he's going to Milan. The report actually come out and said Spurs haven't even talked to Paratici yet. And I don't think they need to because Levy and him have always been good buddies. Levy wanted him a few years before he even came to our club. So there's a lot of contact before him, and they stay in touch as he does with Pochettino. You know, so it's I know our fans were one of the worst for it, but it's like wait and see.
Wait and see. Steve, anything to add on that? Any thoughts on that too?
Yeah, 100%. And it's the answer is twist 100% of the time. Do you know why? Because as of right now, Tottenham Hotspur don't have a direction, and that is absolutely concerning, right? Because here's the reality. What is this team? What is the core principles of this team built on? Is it built around a young, solid core of youth players? Or are we going to pivot this summer because of the results, based off the results of this season, right? Just asking that question of whether or not this team is going to pivot lets you know that Johan Lang is absolutely weak, and we already know that he was weak considering what happened over at Aston Villa. At least with Paratici, you're going to have stability and you're going to have a direction, because not only can he build an academy, but he's also plugged in with different agents around Europe where you're going to be in play for players that you otherwise wouldn't have, right? You mentioned Jonathan David. You're probably going to have more of an opportunity to get in Jonathan David. And by the way, that dude is absolutely phenomenal. If anybody that's familiar with CONCACAF football, Jonathan David is absolutely fantastic. There's absolutely no, as far as I'm concerned, I have absolutely zero confidence that a guy like Johan Lang is going to be able to get certain guys over the line. And because of the debacle of Matisse Tell, I have no confidence he's going to even sell Tottenham to even to good youth players as well too. And that's the issue, right? The fact that this team does not have does not have a direction. Essentially, what we're doing right now is twisting in the wind when it comes to the Premier League.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
That-
Yeah, very valid
that-
points.
change.
We got 71 of you viewing us, 70 now, in the channel. If you like the content of our shows, please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and leave a comment. We're grateful to your vital contributions in the chat, and we're grateful to all our viewers as well, and of course to our fantastic guests as well. Like I say, we pride ourselves in being a discerning, mature, and sensible Spurs group, but we do get involved in the prickly stuff when the PR blunders come around the corner. So stick with us, guys. We're a new channel. We've only been going about 9 months, and if you really do like us, please spread the word about us. Okay, back to you, Drew.
Oh no, I think we covered everything we were going to cover. I was just going to ask you, want to let everybody know what's up next on Spurs Diehards. You have a show on Sunday and then on Tuesday. Is that right?
Yeah, our shows go out, for those that don't know, our shows go out every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. Tuesday's show starts at 2100 UK GMT. The Sunday show starts at 2100 UK GMT, and the Friday show goes out at an hour later because we want to attract American and a Canadian audience, give them a better chance, get people like Steve on. We'll get him back, obviously. Hope he's going to be a regular on Friday.
Yeah, it'd be lovely.
And, get him as a regular on a Friday. Drew runs this show, hosts this show. So I do the Tuesdays and Ian does the Sundays. Ian's not been that well recently, so I may end up doing Sunday show. I need to speak with him about that.
Big up Ian. Hopefully he's getting better.
That'll be post-match Southampton. So, yeah, we'll have plenty to talk about there. Yeah, so we also have a Facebook group, and I know a lot of people don't do Facebook, and I don't. If you don't, you don't. That's fair enough. But we do it because we like to. We're a broad church, So we've got about 14,500 members in Facebook. We couldn't get most of them over on here, but most of them seem to be sub-equator when you look at the computer-generated insights on Facebook. We've got a page we've just started on Facebook because our videos can go out live on the Facebook page and not in the group, because it's the way Facebook have changed things. And we've got my name, when it comes up on here, is the name you'll find me on XCOM. If we just remove this banner, Drew, does my name come up here? Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. You see me at Adrian_Schroker. That's my XCOM name. That's only been going less than a year. We've got 3,200 followers on there. Again, a lot of them are ones who are actually viewing us now, the 68 that have stayed with us this longer. We had a few more earlier on. We're grateful to your support. Please spread the word. Yeah, and that's about it, really. Back to you, Drew.
Awesome. Mapping, do you have any socials, any channel that anyone can catch you on?
Oh, yeah, I've got Instagram, but I don't think people will like it. I usually post music stuffs and.
We've got a question from Faz Radar as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I think it was just asking if Angie or Ange out. I'm not. I'm going to be very, very on the fence here. I'm not Angie or Ange out. I want Spurs to do well. So, that's what I care about. I just want Spurs to do well. I don't have a pitchfork in my closet. It's not the 1600s. So that's my 2 cents on that. Anyone want to Angie or Ange out before we go?
Let me state my attitude to this, because I'm 17 years of age and I've supported this club for over 6 decades.
17.
I tell you what,
younger by the day.
17. You look great for 17.
I know, it's all the vitamins, minerals. Everybody else around me's dying that I know of colds and flu and all, and I can fix all that crap for them. But it's just like I take a lot of supplements, right? So and I eat the right food, basically. Yeah. So I was brought up as a Spurs fan with me and the family. It's the family introduced you. It was either like be a Spurs fan or it was the orphanage, right? So you had no choice in the matter, basically. But it's always your Spurs core when you were brought up in my era and watching a double-side place, standing on a store on relative shoulders, was the fact that you supported the team and manager thick and thin. You didn't talk about boards, and no one talked about Sidney Wale, or no one else ended up being chairman of the club. A lot of the fans probably didn't even know he was chairman. The team were doing that well, So, but you always supported every manager and every player at the club. Not that I've liked every manager and player at the club. There's been managers I didn't want, managers I've disliked a lot, and same with players. But we never booed them. We never booed the team off the pitch. It's just a different era I was brought up in. I've maintained that. I get the fact that Spurs pay their money, fans pay their money, they can shout and scream how they want, whether it's positive or negatively at the club or players or managers. But it's not me. I don't do hate and I don't go down the hate trail, right? And my angst with the club, and the reason that I am not renewing my season ticket for next season and only live a mile and a half from the club, is not because I'm an ardent Levy out, although I couldn't give a shit about Levy. And I'm not Ange out, I'm Ange in, because I've stated the reason why earlier, right? It's because of basically, I would like to see a cultural change at the club towards the supporters of this fantastic football club over the years, especially those that have supported the club as long as me know that. So I'm giving up the season ticket. And that doesn't mean to say I won't be able to go to games, because the average home gate at Spurs was 300,000 this season so far. So there was 1,500 extra places at games that people didn't attend, or unless there were seats that were paid for that people couldn't attend for various reasons, family emergencies, etc., etc. So that's my take. That's really my take on Tottenham, and my, from my own experience with a friend of mine who was a bit ill at the club and all that. And the struggle I had with him, getting him in his seat, getting him a bottle of water and stuff like that, I just thought was disgusting. So that's my angst. I mean, my angst with the club is mainly cultural rather than it is bored, So, right. So that's it with me. So but I will, if I become a One Hotspur member, when tickets go on sale here, those that you don't know, when tickets for games go on sale, the ones that go on sale, they go on sale on a Monday or Tuesday before a game. So if I'm a One Hotspur Plus member, I'll be able to go on a Monday. If I'm only a One Hotspur member, then you'll have to wait till the Tuesday. But it might mean I might not get to games where, like we're playing the North London derby and be guaranteed a ticket. There'll be sellout games you wouldn't be able to get tickets for, but I would still be able to get to games if I choose to. But I'd still want to see a bit of a change at this club before I start parting with any more of my money, So
no, that's fair enough, man.
It's a difficult question to answer because I respect Ange Postecoglou as a coach. When you look at his CV and you see that he's won trophies on 3 different continents, but also every step that he's moved up, he's adjusted, overcame, only to go on to win the league. The other thing is he won silverware with the Australian national team, a national team that doesn't win anything, and he was able to deliver. That being said, I also acknowledge that maybe the fit wasn't good to begin with. But that being said, I'm not Ange in or Ange out. I just support the manager that's in place until the day that he's no longer in place. So it is what it is. Yeah.
And if you're a Spurs fan that's losing your head while everybody else is keeping your head where everyone else is losing theirs, then you don't really understand the problem.
That's silly.
All right. Well, I think we're going to say thank you. Going to wrap it up a little bit. I want to say thanks once again to all our panel. Thank you very much to Mappin for joining us. Really appreciate you coming along. Thank you very much to Mr. Jose. You can see him over here on the YouTubes at Mr. L. Tel Cockerell. Say thank you again to Steve for coming along as his debut on the show, and we'll be sure to have you back. It's been some great conversation. You can go and check him out at Stateside Footy 27. Adrian and myself will be back here same time next week. And on that note,
we'll see you in the back room, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll see you in the back room. Me and Steve will actually be doing a show tomorrow morning, and that's going to be 7 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. Is that right?
No, it's the other way around. It's 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. It's the other way around.
7 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock
and that's over on. That's over on Stateside Footy, and you can if you're over on Twitter, you can catch me at Stateside Footy, and Instagram as well too, same name. And
right, we'll see you guys in the back room, and we'll play you out with this.